On a chilling night, the sound of 4 gunshots echoed through a quiet neighborhood, followed by the final, haunting call that would leave the community in shock. A respected pastor, revered for his guidance and faith, transformed into a figure of horror. What led him to commit the unthinkable, murdering his entire family to pursue a life with his stepdaughter, the woman he had impregnated? This is a story of obsession, betrayal, and a love that spiraled into darkness. Today, we uncover the harrowing details of a crime that rocked a small town to its core. At the center of this chilling tale is Pastor David, a man once admired for his leadership and spiritual devotion. Behind closed doors, however, he held a disturbing secret, an affair with his stepdaughter, Emily. When the truth erupted into chaos, it would lead to a series of events that no one could have foreseen. As we unravel this tragic narrative, we will explore the intersection of faith and morality. What happens when the sacred becomes corrupted by obsession? How can a trusted figure so easily slip into a role of destruction, choosing their desires over their duty to family? This horrifying case serves as a profound reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of even the most esteemed individuals, and the catastrophic consequences that can arise when love becomes twisted into something lethal. You are watching True Crime Excavate, your portal for gripping explorations into the world of real crime. Here we dissect chilling cases, delve into unsolved mysteries, and recount tales of scandal and deception. From notorious cold cases to captivating courtroom battles and profiles of infamous criminals, we offer a wide-ranging look at the darker side of humanity. Join us as we sift through the evidence, analyze motives, and uncover hidden truths behind the stories that keep the world captivated. Subscribe and become part of a community dedicated to unraveling mysteries and seeking justice. Stay until the end, because the truth is even darker than you think. Pastor David was a well-respected figure in the small town of Maplewood. With his magnetic personality and eloquent sermons, he captivated his congregation, guiding them with unwavering faith. Known for his ability to inspire and connect, David had built a reputation as a charismatic leader whose words resonated deeply with the community. However, behind the pulpit and warm smiles lurked a far more complex man, a husband and father struggling to maintain the facade of a perfect life. Pastor David was married to Daugther, a devoted woman cherished by many in the church. Daugther, a good Christian and nurturing mother, had always embraced David's children from his previous relationship as her own. Together they raised 3 children, Mirabel, the eldest at 20, who had dreams of going to college, Stephen, the energetic and rebellious 18-year-old son, and 15-year-old Amanda, who was known for her sweet demeanor and artistic talents. This seemingly perfect family shared laughs around the dinner table and attended church every Sunday, but the cracks in their domestic bliss were beginning to form beneath the surface. While Daugther treated every child with love and affection, including Emily, her stepdaughter who lived with them after her mother's passing, Pastor David's relationship with his family began to shift over time. Emily, a young woman in her late teens, quickly became the focus of David's attention. Though he initially embraced her as part of the family, an unsettling shift occurred. His caring nature gave way to an unhealthy fixation. Daugther, despite her warm heart and nurturing spirit, sensed the growing distance between David and the rest of the family. She noted the long conversations he had with Emily late at night, and how they exchanged glances that lingered a bit too long during family gatherings. The pastor's charming demeanor began taking on an edge that left Daugther feeling uneasy. Early warning signs began to emerge. David often praised Emily at church, drawing admiration from the congregation while neglecting his own children's accomplishments. Quieter moments became tense. Agatha sensed something was amiss but struggled to confront her husband. As time passed, the undercurrents of tension in the household deepened. The once vibrant home was slowly being consumed by an unspoken darkness, one that would ultimately lead to unspeakable tragedy. As weeks turned into months, Pastor David's bond with Emily deepened beyond the innocent affection typically found in a family setting. What began as a mentor-student dynamic soon morphed into an overwhelming obsession. David showered Emily with attention, praising her singing talents and confiding in her about his challenges at church, effectively placing her on a pedestal that she had never anticipated. His words were intoxicating, making her feel valued in a way that was intoxicating yet perilous. However, as the pastor grew more enamored, manipulative behaviors began to surface. He leveraged his authority, suggesting that their special connection was divinely ordained, clouding Emily's judgment with spiritual justification. David's charming persona masked a darker reality. He knew exactly how to manipulate emotions and implant guilt, making Emily feel responsible for his happiness. When the family dynamic shifted and tensions stirred at home, he became the shoulder she leaned on, her sanctuary in the storm of familial disarray. While Agatha was busy with her own family responsibilities, David began grooming Emily in private. They would share secret conversations after family dinners, masking their interactions under the guise of fatherly concern. David insisted that discussing her emotions was a way to help her spiritually, and Emily, captivated by his attention, fell for the ruse. Their relationship, cloaked in secrecy, flourished outside the watchful eyes of the congregation, who continued to see David as a devoted pastor and father, oblivious to the precarious situation unfolding within the walls of his home. David crafted a world in which Emily felt safe with him, portraying his affection as paternal guidance. He fed into the biblical teachings that emphasized obedience and reverence for authority, twisting them to suit his narrative. Under this veil of righteousness, their clandestine relationship blossomed, leaving Emily ensnared in a web of emotional dependency and confusion. The turning point in their relationship came unexpectedly when Emily discovered she was pregnant. The revelation sent shockwaves through her mind, leaving her caught between fear, guilt, and an unsettling excitement. When she confided in David, he exhibited a mix of emotions, panic overshadowed by a sense of control. In a chilling moment, instead of displaying the care one would expect from a father figure, he immediately began to concoct a plan to protect himself and the life they were creating. Emily felt trapped, desperately seeking guidance from the one person she had turned to in times of need, but now she realized he was the source of her turmoil. Conflict erupted within her, and she feared the backlash that would befall their family. What would Agatha think? What would her siblings say? David, sensing her hesitation, urged her to keep the pregnancy a secret, framing it as a test of faith, an opportunity for both of them to show their devotion and endure the trials that lay ahead. As the heavy weight of this life-altering secret settled in, one crucial question loomed over Emily. Would she find the courage to come forward and reveal the truth before it was too late? Or would the walls of deception continue to close in around her, leading them all toward an unfathomable fate? What would be the ultimate cost of their silence? As the days passed and Emily's pregnancy grew more evident, the tension within the household escalated dramatically. Emily found herself caught in an emotional turmoil, torn between the fear of revealing her true circumstances and the undeniable truth of her situation. She could no longer bear the weight of the secret she harbored, and the feeling of isolation only deepened. Driven by love and desperation, she resolved to reveal everything to Agatha, convinced that the truth could pave the way for a new beginning. Pastor David, however, was not ready to relinquish the life he had built. He had already concocted a dark plan to eliminate the obstacles that stood in the way of a fresh start with Emily. In hushed tones, he made promises to Emily, whispers of love and commitment that would only materialize once he had dealt with his family. He convinced her that they could have a future together, that marriage was on the horizon, and all they needed to do was wait for the right moment. Each time he spoke, it wrapped a tighter noose around Emily's heart, intertwining hope with deceit. The night of revelation approached, and the family gathered for dinner, unaware of the storm brewing beneath the surface. Agatha, filled with the warmth of familial love, noticed the subtle changes in her husband. She could sense the distance, yet she struggled to connect the dots. As they shared laughs, Emily's heart raced. Tonight would be the night she would finally tell her mother the truth. As the evening progressed and laughter filled the air, Emily excused herself to go to the restroom, her mind racing with plans to confront Agatha. Meanwhile, Pastor David retreated to the basement to retrieve a 9mm rifle he had kept hidden away, a chilling symbol of his desperate intentions. With every step back upstairs, David's mind was flooded with thoughts of freedom, the life he could create with Emily, far removed from the shackles of family and responsibility. Once he returned to the dining room, an uneasy silence settled over the table. Agatha asked Emily what was bothering her, and as she prepared to speak, David cut in, his tone deceptively calm. "It's nothing, my dear. Family first tonight." However, his eyes betrayed his true feelings, cold determination masked by a father's guise. In a swift and calculated move, David stepped out of the gathering, claiming he needed to retrieve something from the car. The instant he left, the tension crackled in the air, a prelude to the horror about to unfold. What followed was a tragic symphony of betrayal. The soft click of the rifle gearing up with deadly precision made a haunting accompaniment to the unsuspecting laughter still echoing in the dining room. Under the guise of darkness, Pastor David slipped silently through the house. The first victim was Stephen, his rebellious son, who was engrossed in video games in the living room. A single gunshot rang out, ringing in the ears of the unsuspecting family, yet it was masked by the sounds of the television. As Stephen fell, David moved with chilling precision. Next in line was Mirabelle, who heard her brother's cries but opened her bedroom door just in time to meet the same fate. Confusion and horror quickly overtook the unsuspecting young woman. As he advanced toward the parents' bedroom, Agatha sensed something was awry. She glanced toward the darkened hallway, her maternal instincts igniting a silent alarm. What she didn't know was that the person she trusted most was now the instigator of her darkest nightmare. In the dim light that illuminated the house, the atmosphere shifted from warmth and laughter to impending dread. Each shot shattered the remnants of family life, adding to an irreversible tension. The narrative of a loving husband and father crumbled, revealing a monster hiding behind the facade of faith. Once inside their room, David found Agatha lingering behind the door, uncertainty etched across her face. "David? What's going on? I heard shots," she called, her voice trembling. But before she could process the truth, it was too late. The preacher she once revered leveled the gun at her, a mixture of fear and disbelief plastered across her features. In that moment of frozen terror, Agatha's desperate plea fell silent as the final shot broke through the stillness of the night, concluding a family's dreams in mere seconds. With a chilling finality, Pastor David stood amidst the ruins of his life, entirely consumed by the darkness he had unleashed. With his family wiped away and Emily now unknowingly standing on the precipice of heartbreak, one pressing question remained. Could he truly start anew with Emily? Or had he not only destroyed his family, but also shattered any chance of a future filled with love? As dawn approached, what would be the cost? Hours passed after the harrowing events unfolded that night, during which Pastor David hurriedly ushered Emily from room to room, insisting she gather her belongings for their escape. "We can start anew, Emily. This is our chance for happiness," he urged, his voice filled with a false calmness that barely concealed the chaos of the night prior. Emily, still reeling from the shock, felt an overwhelming sense of confusion and dread. Could this truly be a fresh beginning, or had she stepped into a nightmare beyond comprehension? Yet the desperation in his eyes compelled her to comply, her heart heavy with unprocessed grief for the family she had lost. Once they packed a few essentials, David led her out of the oppressive shadows of their past life and into the car, her body rigid with uncertainty. What had just happened? Why did she feel so empty? They drove for hours until they reached a hotel in Texas. The entire trip felt surreal, like a film playing out before her eyes, the characters painfully familiar, yet wholly foreign. 3 days passed as they settled into the dim hotel room, a stark contrast to the warmth of her family home. During this time, David whispered about building their future, attempting to drown out Emily's guilty conscience with grand promises and visions of love. But Emily couldn't escape the haunting memories of her family's last moments. Each laugh turned with laughter cut short, all buried under the weight of David's decisions. Under the guise of normalcy, a sense of dread coiled in her gut. It was then that Emily formulated a desperate plan. With keen determination, she resolved to poison David, believing this was the only way to escape not just his past, but also her own entrapment. She searched the hotel room for the means to execute her plan and found an opportunity while he slept, mixing poison into his food. As David consumed the meal, Emily felt a flicker of resolve. She knew it was wrong, yet the urgency to break free outweighed her moral conflicts. However, after a few days of this treacherous routine, David's condition worsened rapidly. On the 3rd day, as he lay weakened by the effects of the poison, Emily felt an unexpected rush of clarity. Perhaps this was not just about her freedom, this was a chance to ensure the truth emerged, to finally reveal the horror he had inflicted upon her family. In a moment of fierce conviction, Emily called 911. "I need help," she cried to the dispatcher, her voice trembling yet steady. "I need to tell you what really happened. My family, they were killed. My stepfather is dying. He did it." As law enforcement arrived at the hotel, they found a scene ripe for investigation. The full extent of the tragedy began to unfold as details about the chain of events emerged. Emily's harrowing tale of manipulation and horror painted a chilling portrait of Pastor David, once a beloved figure in their community. Investigators quickly traced the connections back to Maplewood, where family members had been reported missing. It was a haunting revelation that shocked friends, neighbors, and congregation members alike. The immediate reaction from the community was one of disbelief, shock, and heartache. How could the man they had trusted and admired commit such unimaginable acts? As news broke out, the church's reputation suffered tremendously, undergoing a dramatic unraveling from respect to hysteria. Many grappled with feelings of betrayal, fearful of how their faith had been manipulated by someone they believed to be a guide and protector. Public forums exploded with questions and commentary. Perhaps the most troubling aspect was the community's internal debate over faith versus betrayal. How could someone entrusted to God's word turn into a monster? Among the grief and outrage, whispers of doubt lingered. Could David's charismatic veneer have hidden deeper flaws all along? As the investigation progressed, one important question lingered. Would Emily find justice for her family? And could she truly escape the grasp of a nightmare that had seemingly no end? What would become of her in the aftermath of such profound loss? As we conclude this heartbreaking tale, we've explored the devastating journey of Pastor David, whose tragic decisions shattered his family and community. Driven by obsessive desires, he eliminated the very people who loved him, leaving a dark void in their wake. Emily, caught in a web of manipulation and fear, emerged as both a victim and a brave survivor, ultimately revealing the horrifying truth. This case serves as a chilling reminder of the fragility of trust and the depths to which manipulation can lead individuals to stray far from their moral compass. It raises profound questions about faith, the nature of evil within seemingly good people, and the enduring strength required to confront such darkness. Following the investigation, Emily was provided with a safe place to stay, a sanctuary where she could rehabilitate and find solace as she prepared for motherhood. In the eyes of the law, she was not a criminal. She had fought valiantly to reveal the truth and seek justice for her family, brutally taken from her. As she looked toward her future, the journey toward healing had only just begun, underscoring the resilience of the human spirit, even in the face of overwhelming darkness. As we reflect on Emily's harrowing experience, we encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments below. What would you have done in Emily's position? How does this story affect your view on trust and manipulation within families? We'd love to hear your perspectives, stories, and insights as we navigate these complex themes together. And if you enjoyed this story and want more gripping, thought-provoking content, be sure to check out our other videos on True Crime Excavate. Subscribe now and watch plenty of thrilling, real-life inspired stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. See you on the next video.